environment is always changing, shifting. Just look at the past few months as examples. We've gone from rapid growth and a flourishing economy to one that looks in doubt. Well, Dave Kahle is a speaker, an author, and a consultant who can help any organization with the sales force deal with these issues that we're going to discuss today. Dave, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure.
It's great to get you on camera to share some of your expertise. So I have 3 questions for you to consider, and just share what you think with our audience. And when we think about sales challenges, I know in one email that we shared back and forth, you talked about how we have to, you said, change ourselves and our organizations as the world changes around us. So what do you mean by change for ourselves and our organizations? Are we in unknown waters? How do we know the best pathway? What do you think?
Well, boy, those are big questions. First of all, what do I mean by it? Let me first, I think, put a little substance behind the fact that it is changing, and our world is changing. It's changing at a pace that is unprecedented in human history. So it's not a matter of more of the same. It's a matter. We are in a completely different time, and the reason for that is the growth of information. As we have grown information, it seeps into every aspect of our economy and our industries and our jobs, and it causes change. And so we're seeing right now unprecedented. I mean, this is unprecedented in human history. The rapidity of change around us, and I think we all kind of sense it. But it really is something I believe we have to successfully deal with it. It will be the single greatest challenge for each of us in our careers as well as our businesses, is the ability to react and respond and proact and change as quickly as the world is changing around us. So I have that little ebook called Turbulent Times, which I kind of dialogue on this, but there's really a real simple example, and I think everybody can relate to that, and that is computers. Like, okay, so you get a thing that says upgrade, or so you got to stop everything and upgrade, and okay, so that's a piece of software, and so now it's different. It's somehow changed than it was just before. And you gotta, if it's changed that's anything other than the back end of it, you gotta, if you're gonna do it right, I mean, you have to look at that change. You have to kind of incorporate it, figure out how to use it, maybe practice it a few times. And that by itself would be okay, but multiply it times the number of pieces of software that you use. And before long, you get a sense of, man, I just wish stuff would stop for a while so I can get used to it and get comfortable, but it doesn't stop. It just keeps coming. It comes faster and faster. Now that's just software. And, when you add it to everything else, our worlds are changing more rapidly than any time in human history. And that means we have to take on certain skills and processes and principles that may be new, that we just are not used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Often I'm just thinking, why doesn't it just work? Or we spend more time chasing things or making things work to help us with our work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. A great book. There's a great book called Margin, written by Dr. Richard Swenson, and he has a little sentence in there that I thought I like to use. And let me just read it to you, because I think it captures what we're talking about here. And that's this: the spontaneous tendency of our culture is to inexorably add detail to our lives. One more option, one more problem, one more commitment, one more expectation, one more purchase, one more debt, one more change, one more job, one more decision. We must now deal with more things per person than at any other time in history. That's what we're talking about. More things per person than at any other time in history. And what's really interesting about that? That book was written in the year 2000. Imagine today, if we had more things per person at any other time in history 20 years ago, imagine what it is today. I mean, that's our world. So our ability to deal with that successfully, I believe, is the single biggest challenge we will face for our careers, personally, as well as our businesses.
So I think of salespeople as, their job is to get out there and talk to people and sell things. How does this impact that?
Oh, well, just look at the last 3 years. I mean, and what have we seen? We've seen some customers, as a result of the whole COVID thing, not want to see salespeople. And while that may be, some of that may be dissipating. Now, the fact is that some of those customers kind of like that. And they're going to continue to do that. And so now the job of the salesperson, just in that one little aspect alone, has changed, because now he's got to figure out an additional way to see people who don't necessarily want him to come and, bring coffee and donuts in the morning. They don't. So now we've added this layer of complication onto many salespeople. And then there's the issue of complexity, growing complexity. For a field salesperson, if you just look at, just do this one thing, look at the products that a salesperson sells. And, I like to use a distributor because they're in the middle. If as a distributor, if you look at any vendor's price list, just pick out any vendor's price list and count up the number of SKUs on it, and then find that same price list from 3 or 4 years ago, count up the number of SKUs. What are you going to find? More. Every manufacturer, and all the manufacturers can relate to this, have more, and every distributor has multiply more. And all at once, just that one component, that is the quantity of items to deal with, has grown exponentially. So that's a challenge for a salesperson. Keep that all straight. And honestly, I think there's a lot of salespeople that are bumping up against their capacities to just keep it all straight. How many products? And then, so that's just on the product side. Look at the customer side. And I suspect that many customers today, end users, are expecting services and information from their vendors that did not even exist 5 years ago. And today it's just the standard. They just expect it, So we have this complexity in customer expectations, complexity on the back end of the business, and it's not stopping. Those manufacturers aren't going to stop creating new products. So it just keeps going. And then, of course, here's another issue for salespeople, and that is the processes and the tools they use to pull those two things together. So you got growing complexity on the customers, growing complexity on the products, and growing complexity in the processes that you use. Like, if you're not using a CRM system, you're decades behind. But it's entirely possible that a lot of your member salespeople just are only now beginning to use a CRM system, a piece of software to help them with sales. And, were they doing that 5 years ago? Probably not. Are they doing it today? Yes. Is it more complex, more sophisticated? Yes. But so what? That's the world. So outside salesperson, field salesperson, just really caught in the middle of all these pressures and has to respond appropriately.
Yeah, of course. I gotta wonder, what do you do with all that? What you share is the challenge. What is the solution? Yeah. And here's another wrinkle. So many people you're trying to sell to are now working from home.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think? Maybe
well, you got to learn, you got to learn to use alternate technologies, just like this technology. We're doing this on Zoom. Were we doing this 5 years ago? I was, but I mean, the world wasn't. So you're going to have to learn not only new technologies, but, the whole thing with a phone visit or a video visit requires some things that a lot of salespeople are not used to. And what it requires is a real tight agenda and the discipline to follow it. Because if you have booked, a half-hour sales call with a customer, you have a half hour and that's it. And so, whereas before you might be more comfortable, waltzing in and kibitzing for 15 to 20 minutes and then getting to the issue and so on, you better be organized. You better have an agenda. You better know what your objective is, or you're going to fail. And for a lot of salespeople, that's a new set of tools, a new discipline that they haven't been used to. And I'm sorry, guys, that's the way it is. Again, you got to change. You got to adjust more rapidly than ever in the past.
That's good information. I guess if you're to encapsulate it, tighten everything up. You got to be, I like your use of the word agenda, because you're right. People are busy. And I know this, Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, they can wear you out. It's not like sitting around a conference table enjoying a donut and coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You got to be on. Not only do you have to be on agenda, but you have to be on. You have to be at the top of your game. There's no margin. And I think that's probably one of the things that is a wrinkle today, and that is there's very little margin for error. There's very little margin for maneuvering. You have to be on. I guess the ultimate question. So the question is, what do you do? I mean, is there a solution? And there's not a 25 words or less solution. There's not a simple, easy solution, but I think there's a solution. And the solution is to build in to our personal characters and our corporate culture certain new principles, new processes, new disciplines, new habits that will impact everything that we do. And I think that means we have to be much more intentional about how we build into ourselves and our cultures. And again, I've got lots of very specific solutions, to that. When I say new principles, processes, and tools, I mean I've got some to share. But as a general principle, that's the approach to dealing with our times.